Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of the Vash Sky ParkCast. My name is Vash Sky. I'm going to be your host of today's ceremonies. Thank you so much for coming in from that park place. We have Texas 8412. I've been told you don't have to read the numbers, but it's part of my DNA. Sorry, guys. We have Tom F over there in the chat. Juliet. We have Kit Kat. Everybody's in there. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's very interesting, this Vash Sky ParkCast, because we are on the cusp of, well, actually, I'm looking at the subscriber count right now. Apparently, we may have achieved 5,000 already. Wow, I actually didn't know that. This is all coming to me right now. Wow, that is unbelievably extraordinary that we have achieved such an amazing milestone right there. We will celebrate that. There's no question about that. We will absolutely have a celebration for that tremendous milestone right there, because that is outrageous. That is very, very cool to achieve something like that so fast out of the gate. Honestly, I have you to thank for it. You were the guy. You were the ones to actually make that possible. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for making my dream come true right here. Very, very cool stuff. Thank you to all of you. Let's hold off on the festivities just for a little bit right here, because we have so many fantastic theme park news stories. We just have to get to them. It is demanding that we do, and so I cannot wait to get into all of these and more. In order to highlight, though, the Skylanders and Skywatchers in the chat more effectively, speaking with my producer about what we could do to update the format and actually incorporate you guys even more. So what we're going to do, actually, we're going to test this out right now, MJ. So if you're there, go ahead and be at the ready. We are going to go ahead and bring in, actually, MJ, to go over Super Chats, starred comments and so forth, starred chats and so forth, so that we have more of a dialogue with you at the conclusion of every single one of these stories. That way, yes, we can feature you far more heavily. Let's go ahead and bring on MJ right now in order to do that with Juliet. Go ahead.
Hey everybody, so happy Wednesday. It's great to be here on the Vash Sky ParkCast. We have Juliet coming in with 2 British pounds. Evening Vash Sky ParkCast and Skyliners and Skywatchers.
Indeed. Juliet has been such an amazing force on this program right here, whether she's modding, creating those wonderful relationships with our Skylanders in the chat right there, saying hi to them, all of that, and for supporting the channel as regularly as she does with her super chats. Thank you so much for doing that. Awesome stuff. MJ, does oh, she's gone. Wait a minute, where'd she go? We need her. MJ, I wanted to go. Is there anything going on in the chat right now that you wanted to go ahead and call out before we get to our first story? Maybe something I missed.
I'm not seeing anything yet, but I will let you know. I think the train whistle works.
I think the train whistle works swimmingly right there. Thank you so much for being the producer extraordinaire that you are. Let's go ahead and get to our first story, and keep note of anybody in the chat right there that you want to go ahead and highlight for the conclusion of this next story. Boy, oh boy, guys, have you heard all the crazy news coming out of Walt Disney World for the last couple of years, like the closure of Rivers of America, the closure of Muppet Vision 3D, some of our favorite attractions and so forth, gone. Why is that? Well, honestly, there's a multitude of factors connecting to all of that, but one of the factors that binds them all together is, well, the president of Walt Disney World, that frankly has a disproportionate amount of power, let's say, to the future of Walt Disney World. And, well, that president who approved of all those projects, maybe campaigned for a few of them, is now leaving after 36 years with the company. This is a big deal, folks. Let's go ahead and get right into it. From Blog Mickey, Walt Disney World President Jeff Balley announces retirement May 11th, 2026. This is my mic over there at Blog Mickey. I'm going to go ahead and drop this into dark mode for all of you guys. Wow, this is something. Today, I shared with our team that after 36 years with Disney, I'll be retiring this summer. I started my career as an engineer at Magic Kingdom, and I'm wrapping it up with the best job ever, leading Walt Disney World into a period of remarkable growth in partnership with our incredible cast members and community. I'll be here through late July, so I'll save the reminiscing for later. In the meantime, there's a lot ahead, from launching Cool Kids Summer. Oh yes, they require the steadiest of hands in order to bring that activation to life, I'm sure. To the opening of Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets and updated Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's, requires all hands on deck for rethemes. Okay, it's an exciting time for Walt Disney World, and I'm looking forward to being part of it in the months ahead. A lot of people, well, they were thinking that we would have years ahead to look forward with Jeff Valley at the helm right here, because, and this is in my research, I found this very, very interesting right here. This dates back to March 10th, 2026, right? Dates back to when Thomas Moslem was originally appointed to be the next chairman for the Experiences division right here. I'm excited to step into the next era. Walt Disney World President Jeff Valley comments on new Experiences chairman. Well, not super excited, because he'd be there if that were the case. So that's a very interesting thing. If we actually scroll down right here, we get to something that's very, very interesting. Mike says from Block Mickey here, it will be interesting to see what Valley does with Walt Disney World over the next few years as projects continue to come online. Yeah, it would be, if he was going to be there, which he's not. So we'll have to wonder what those next few years would have been like, because he is gone. And so now that, creates, interesting discussion as to why he may have left Walt Disney World at this pivotal time. Because honestly, when you actually look at it, it is the most pivotal time for this Walt Disney World resort. I mean, think about it. With all these expansions actually coming online, with all of these things taken down, you would think that, well, in this case, you would think a steady hand at all of these things, well, would be necessary in order to keep all these things running smoothly. When it comes to attractions, when it comes to like new experiences, new activations, new construction, all of those have to be facilitated. And when you have a fully operating theme park, right, all of these things have to, there's a delicate balancing act between operations and so forth, facilitation, nearby attraction openings, park openings, etc. You have to coordinate all of that in order to facilitate, like the construction umbilicus that actually has to be maintained in order to allow these things to thrive right here. So when you look at, in this case right here, which is, this is the flagship location. This is the flagship resort for the Walt Disney Company, for the Experiences division, right? And this is why, when looking at all of this, I was like, well, Jeff Valley might be the guy going forward, right? He might be the guy that they actually select as chairman, because, well, it happened with Josh Tomorrow. Josh Tomorrow started out at Disneyland, moved around a couple of places, and then became Disneyland's president right there, then was elevated to Walt Disney World president, and then shortly thereafter was elevated to chairman. So it was like, okay, well, it looks like he's going to be the guy, and following a similar trajectory to Josh Tomorrow himself. That wasn't the case. They actually chose Thomas Moslem, who, right before his chairman position was announced, he was the president for Disneyland. But here's the thing, folks. He wasn't chosen because he was the resort president for Disneyland. He was chosen because, well, I think, because he was president for Cruise Line for all that time. Technically, Disney Signature Experiences, but Cruise Line's right underneath it. He's synonymous with that. And to, when you look at the trajectory for the Experiences division, Walt Disney World, I think, has been a little bit on the decline. I mean, we've noted that in the past, and when it comes to various coverage related to, attendance, prices, valuations, all of that, no question, and the lack of new experiences. Now we're just going to go ahead and do them all at once. Fine, sure, go ahead, I suppose. But that does maybe lead to some problems as they're experiencing right now. It's very interesting. But we've noted that, yes, the experiences division, especially Walt Disney World, we've seen elevated spending there, but largely due to increased prices. It's not like you have everybody coming out of the woodwork to visit Walt Disney World to spend even more money than they were before. You usually have to kind of coax it out of them. But even with that mentality at the Walt Disney Company and at the experiences division especially, well, Walt Disney World still has had down quarters. In fact, actually, I believe it was Caroline Reed making note of some of the worst quarters in the last, I think, 2 years over there in 2024. And largely due to the underperformance of Walt Disney World. And so when you look at that kind of stuff from a business perspective, especially from the Burbank bosses over there, it's like, is this really the guy? Versus Thomas Muslim, his division with Cruise Line. Look, back in 2020, a lot of people felt that cruise line, the cruise industry, was gone for good. A lot of people were saying, you remember that time, folks. A lot of people were saying that maybe nobody's going to be on a cruise ever again. And so that really, that industry right there was certainly the most vulnerable it had been in years. But not only did the industry recover, but Disney Cruise Line itself just exploded in terms of popularity. I mean, everybody came on down to Florida, or maybe even parts of San Diego, in order to take advantage of these cruises. And so what happened in that case? Well, obviously, a lot of the business for the entire experiences unit was coming out of Cruise Line. And when you look at the margins and so forth, I mean, a cruise liner, what, $1.5 billion, maybe thereabouts? If you have them constructed over there at Meyer Werft, even those more expensive cruise liners, you know, they might top out $2 billion or so. Well, okay. Now, consider the fact that these cruise liners, they're in operation for decades. That one-time investment right there. And it pays dividends year after year after year after year, seemingly endlessly. So when you look at the revenue potential for these things, it is, it's exponential in a lot of ways. So maybe that's why Disney doubled down on Cruise Line. In fact, apparently, with that $60 billion investment that they announced some years ago for the next 10 years for the experience division, 20% of that is being diverted to the cruise line industry just by itself. The Disney Cruise Line, specifically. 20% of $60 billion. And at this most latest earnings call that we actually heard there, was it last week? I do believe. What did we hear? We heard that the company is committed to bringing on, I think, as many as 13 cruise ships in total by 2031. It's, honestly, if you wanted to look at the company's trajectory and how much faith that they have in cruise line, it's right there on display for everybody to see. I think they announced that 13 figure there a couple of years back. And they just keep reiterating it over and over again on earnings calls because they know that investors know. That's where a lot of this business is coming from. So, if we want to go ahead and showcase our experiences division, why not do it with the person who was in charge of that for so long and led it to such great success, that being Thomas Muslim, not Jeff Alley. In a similar fashion that Josh Giamaro was chosen for the CEO position. We talked about how, really, for years, Disney's not really an entertainment company anymore, as much as they would like you to believe that they are. Because, honestly, most of the operating income coming in for the company isn't from the entertainment sector. It's from the parks. So, when Disney as a company, as a corporation, selects Josh Giamaro as their new CEO, what are they telling you? They're telling you we have full confidence in our experiences division. We believe ourselves to be an experiences company, and we're going to select the experiences guy in order to chart our path forward here. And, well, also ensure that our $60 million investment is well spent. Okay, fair enough. So, in a similar fashion, that's why Thomas Muslim was chosen. Look, we think Cruise Line is the way to go. Walt Disney World might be a legacy property, and under the direction of Jeff Alley, well, might not be performing to expectations. Again, it's very interesting to see the price increases for Walt Disney World. They've been extremely aggressive. often superseding the cost of inflation, right? Or the inflation rate. But still, Walt Disney World's having problems. That's not great. Also, too, if you look at the trajectory for attendance, right, it has been going down a little bit year after year. Not a lot, but a little bit. And we've seen on earnings calls, right, where we see maybe like a -1 attendance decline, -2% attendance decline, all of that. Well, all those with successive quarters, they add up, folks. They add up. And so Walt Disney World has been making maybe about the same or more money with less guests. But how long is that going to last? That's the big question. And so it's when you're looking at these executives, Thomas Muslim really becomes the obvious choice. Which, honestly, I didn't necessarily think going into it because, well, if you have somebody in charge of your flagship resort, why wouldn't you have them in charge of the entire experiences unit? Frankly, it kind of speaks to how well Thomas Muslim did his job, how maybe badly Jeff Valdy actually performed his job, right? A little bit of indictment on him. Now, some people say, oh, well, he didn't want it. He didn't, he was a guy that was more reserved and all of that. Okay. Then why do you leave just weeks after Thomas Muslim was elevated as chairman? Isn't that weird? Doesn't that strike you guys as weird? Yeah, it does to me too. And we know why he did that because, well, he had nowhere to go. Think about it. If Thomas Muslim is elevated to the position of chairman, overseeing Jeff Valdy and the other parks around the world, where does Jeff Valdy go? If he wants to, work his way out throughout the company, that's the only place he could go. Every other move would be, at best a lateral move, but it would be a downgrade. That's the only place. So just like what happened with Jay Rasulo and Tom Staggs back in, the mid-2010s right there? You'll remember this when Bob Iger said, hey, I'm going to be selecting my next CEO. Yeah, folks, that was over 10 years ago when he did that. So there you go. And in order to select my new CEO, we're going to go ahead and have a little bit of a runoff or a race for them, in which we will take the CFO at that time, Tom Staggs, and we'll switch him with the head of Parks and Resorts. This is before the Experiences banner was actually labeled on this division right here. And that was Jay Rasulo, who was at the head of Parks and Resorts at the time. He trades with Tom Staggs to be the next CFO. And let's see who actually does best in this position. Well, it was clear to anybody actually looking at it that, well, Tom Staggs was a little bit more competent when it came to running that area of the company. One that was so important to actually get right. Again, Tom Staggs had a lot of great ideas. Like, for example, when Jay Rasulo was running the company, or was running that division, I should say, New Fantasyland was already taking shape. And that was something championed by Jay Rasulo himself. Well, when Tom Staggs looks at the plans, he's like, there's nothing for my little boys to do here. Because he had kids of his own, and he had 2 little boys. And it's like, there's nothing here for them. It was a whole bunch of princess meet and greets. Okay. Well, that, not necessarily 4-quadrant. And so that's when he approved the construction at the last minute, honestly. While an active construction site was already, going along, happening. He approved Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which has been, honestly, a boon to Magic Kingdom. And especially Lightning Lane sales and everything connected to that. So it was clear that Tom Staggs was the guy. And, well, that's when Bob Iger took him around and said, hey, okay, this is the guy, and took him to the board and said, we go forward with this. Well, it was actually Ike Perlmutter who said, not so fast. Because remember, at the time, and Iger does it to himself, Iger decided to go ahead and have a direct line of communication with Kevin Feige at the time for the future of the MCU. And, well, that meant that Ike Perlmutter was no longer involved in that. Ike Perlmutter being slighted, well, he scuttles the plans for Tom Staggs to be the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Thanks, Iger. Very much appreciate that one as well. So, in I guess, a similar fashion, right? You evaluate both candidates, and you see which one has come out on top, and clearly Thomas Moslem was the choice. But like the instance in which Tom Staggs was chosen, right? As soon as Tom Staggs was said to be the guy that was going to be leading the Walt Disney Company, well, that's when, actually, J. Rasulo left the company. Because he felt there was nowhere else to go. He wasn't going to be the next CEO of the company, so where do you go from the CFO or leading the Parks and Resorts division? There's nowhere to go. So he left. Similarly, I think that's what's playing out right here with Jeff Vallee. He understands the situation, understands that Thomas Moslem's going to probably be there for at least 5 years, as long as Josh Giamaro is there, which I'm guessing he's going to be there for 5 years, notwithstanding any involvement from Iger, of course. So why stick around? He leaves. Now, you would think that somebody, and this is the time where we get into some history related to some of these projects right here. You would think somebody who championed for some of these things as vigorously as he did would believe in them so strongly that he'd like to see them, open. But that's not what we're seeing here. He's getting out while the getting's good. He's getting out early, long before Cars Land or Monsters Incorporated or Villains Land is activated at Walt Disney World. Why is that? It's weird. Now, he was, from what I understand from all my sources and everything like that, he was the guy really campaigning for attractions, beloved attractions like Muppet Vision 3D to make their, unceremoniously, removal, I guess, from Walt Disney World. But he was really championing very strongly to get rid of Rivers of America. And I guess, I've talked to Jared of Capture the Magic and a couple of other sources. Apparently, he was shown alternative ideas that could have maintained the Rivers of America. He didn't pursue those. Interesting. No, he felt that these spaces were underutilized. Yes, the underutilized language that comes from Disney that's been quoted in various places, that originates with Jeff Vallee himself. And that's what he told, by the way, and an interviewer publicly, that these spaces were being underutilized. Now, he didn't name Rivers of America or anything else, but the message was clear. Walt Disney World's Rivers of America at Magic Kingdom didn't actually generate revenue. Per square foot, obviously it was something that not only didn't generate revenue, but was something that had to be maintained, had to have capital expenditure put into it in order to ensure that something like the Liberty Bell, which is a, really for real old steam-powered, real rear paddle wheeler. Sorry about that, guys. That be maintained, because it's an actual wooden vessel right there. It takes money to do that. So why maintain it in the future? Let's replace it with an attraction that we know will sell Lightning Lane. And now we have a direct revenue stream within the park boundaries, along with shops and restaurants and everything else. We can monetize that space in the most attended theme park in the world. Sounds good in theory. Sounds good on paper. But you and I both know that's not how theme parks work. We go there for the atmosphere. We go there for to be transported into a realm, a world that does not at all exist. Sometimes that is connected with an IP or franchise, and some of that is a connection to its past. Remember, Walt said, let's see right here. He said let's see if I have it.
And the hard facts
that have created America. That's what he says at Disneyland opening day speech. And it's enshrined in bronze there in Anaheim. Rivers of America was something that Walt really did truly believe in. In fact, he believed in it so much that he cashed out his own personal life insurance policy to pay for the Mark Twain riverboat at Disneyland. And how did Lily and Walt celebrate their 30th anniversary? They celebrated it on the Rivers of America on the Mark Twain. This is, for every single castle park around the world, the Rivers of America is a big, big, big deal. It's big when it's included, and it's big when it's not. Like in the case of Shanghai, for example, there's something missing there. One of those things is Rivers of America. And I think MJ has actually brought this out in previous coverage, but it will be one of the only castle parks, or one of the only theme parks, I suppose, without a large body of water connected to it, with its removal. But for Jeff Valley, it's like, well, on the balance sheet, it's going to look so much better. It's going to be making us money. Let's remove it. Oh, you could keep aspects of it, sure, yeah. Why do that? Why have this connection to the past? Why give people this amazing experience that has been preserved at Disneyland, where they, in one of the most difficult parks in the world to expand in, they were able to provide us both Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the Rivers of America. 14 acres at the back of that park still preserve Rivers of America. Magic Kingdom, what did Walt say? The blessing of size. No excuse to remove it. If other than you want to reduce maintenance costs. And Jeff Valley was at the heart of that, guys. He was the guy that was campaigning for that. Now, you would think that he would stick around and actually see this through. What does it say about somebody who might have campaigned for it as much as he did? And he's leaving. I'll let you be the judge there in terms of that. I think I do have some video of Disneyland's Frontierland here to show you what we could have had in this space. If, in fact, we had some executives who were a little bit more forward-thinking. Okay. I might not actually. But I thought I did. But I don't. I have some video of how Rivers of America looks today. Let's go ahead and check those out right there. Here you go. We've got some footage here by Coaster K24 here. You can see right there. Yeah. We're going to leave the most in the theme park in the world looking like that. That's when we'll go ahead and have our exit. 36 years with the company, by the way, guys. And we're going to leave at this juncture right here. Okay. I guess that's what we're doing. It is crazy to think about this. It is wild. You can see right here what this all looks like. It's hard to see, folks. It's hard to witness. But don't worry, I'm sure Big Thunder will have its own amazing vantage point right here. Oh! Well, actually, no, wait. Yeah, they decided a wall was suitable. Okay. Yeah. Great. We now have to live with this for the foreseeable future. So, that's how we're handling all of that. Let's see right here. MJ, are you there? Let's go ahead and, before I continue our Jeff Valley coverage right here, is there any notable chats you want to go ahead and bring out from our amazing audience right here? Let's get them involved in the conversation, shall we?
I think that's a fabulous idea. And I wanted to highlight this I think she's a Skywatcher, right? This beautiful comment, 5K subscribers. That's awesome news. Congratulations to Vash. And this comment came in right before your first segment started. So I wanted to highlight that for sure. Thank you, Vixen Sky 007.
Absolutely.
We have a really nice comment here from at Grand Regent Chopper at Vash Sky ParkCast. Did you notice in the first quarterly earnings of Josh D'Amaro, he talked about the decline of linear cable channels? I read an article that in 6 to 9 months, Josh may spin off ESPN.
There are definitely conversations involving all of that. I think this is why Deborah O'Connell actually was made the head of their television unit right there. And I understand it's a little bit different than cable and linear broadcasting and all of that, but to have somebody there who is known to be cutthroat, I think is them saying, look, there might be some very difficult choices that need to be made for the future of these divisions right here. And unlike Bob Iger, who was a little bit adverse to making those decisions, who was a little bit hesitant to make those, I think Josh D'Amaro is saying, we won't be. So get ready, folks. But great comment right there, for sure.
And that's all we have for now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, MJ. Keep on starring. Here we go. I finally found my footage that I was looking for. This is what Walt Disney World could have had. This that Disneyland currently enjoys every single day. The vantage point from where this is being filmed is on, well, the Mark Twain Riverboat. And you can see right here this lovely train going across right there, and all of this providing a visual and noise barrier between it, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, just beyond it. Again, could have had all that. But no, that's not Jeff Valley's thing. In fact, from what I've heard, the structure of all of this, how this goes. Well, actually, is that the Mark Twain? Could be the Columbia. Okay. From how I understand the structure of the Walt Disney Company and these executives having power over various parts of the company, if in fact you're, the head of a resort, how much power they actually entrust in you, so forth, right? When it comes to these expansions, these additions, these projects, I've been told that there are certain incentives to come in under budget and ahead of schedule, which makes sense. But when you think about it, it's like, oh, well, that's a reverse incentive, right? That doesn't necessarily ensure that we get the best quality projects or even the best quality as it relates to the final execution of these projects. We might have the opposite. So if you're looking at some recent additions to these parks and feeling like, hey, why aren't these as exceptional as projects of yore? There may be something to that. Here we go. Disneyland. It is fantastic. Still the best castle park. Oh yeah, folks. I'm going to stand on that. Right there. Anywho's, West Coast, Best Coast. All right. Sorry, I have to do it. I know Jonas might be watching, and he disagreed with me on this point.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Maybe. It could be. So, all right, we've determined what's actually going on, why it might be going on right here. Now we have to determine who might be in this position going forward. And I think the people to look to are the people on the very short list there that were considered for the chairman position itself. Because when you think about it, kind of makes sense, right? It's like, okay, well, if they were good enough to be chairman, maybe they're good enough to run the flagship resort, that being Walt Disney World for the Walt Disney Company. Okay, I think Disney Tourist Blog actually has a lot of insight into this. I'm going to go ahead and put up his article right now here. Let's see if we can. Okay. Who will replace Josh D'Amaro as head of Disney Parks and Resorts? You can obviously determine by the title when this was actually written. But let's go ahead and look down this list right here and see if we can actually make some determinations. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight at least two people on this list. I'm going to go ahead and Joe Scott. I mean, I guess we could talk about him as well. Joe Scott's another strong contender who's essentially the mirror image of Moslem. While Moslem left Disney Signature Experiences to take over Disneyland, Scott left Shanghai Disney Resort to take over Disney Signature Experiences. That's the cruise line division right there. Scott's a 40-year Disney veteran who started his career as a frontline cast member in operations at Walt Disney World. He began as a Jungle Cruise skipper at Magic Kingdom, making him pretty much the quintessential Disney park Scott. Seriously, just how many high-ranking leaders and creatives got their start at Jungle Cruise? Must be something in the water. That's very funny right there. Nice writing. From there, Scott spent 15 of the last 18 years working outside of the United States. He led Walt Disney Attractions Japan and supported the Tokyo Disney Resort for 3 years during the resort's 25th anniversary. He spent 5 years on the revitalization effort of Disneyland Paris as chief operating officer. Following that, he served 6 years as president and general manager of Shanghai Disney Resort. Under his leadership, he saw the park expand to open the highly successful Zootopia land, along with the new attractions and entertainment, all while largely cut off from the domestic operations due to the hard border closure during COVID. That's interesting. Shanghai did suffer a lot from this. That's kind of the risk. That's the danger of opening these places in some of these countries. There might be a little bit more restrictions actually put forward there. So, an interesting guy to actually consider right here. He could be the guy. And one of the things that we're going to be looking for here when evaluating all this talent is how many times in their career when leading these various resorts did they actually manage expansions or oversee expansions? Because that's really the big one, right? I mean, look, we have 3 parks right now out there at Walt Disney World having huge expansions. You're going to want a guy in there who's done that before. Understands, okay, if we're going to have areas of these parks cut off, right? What do we do for the guests in order to make up for that? What do we do in order to ensure that no park operations are disturbed, or as little as possible, right? While obviously being able to facilitate this construction at a steady pace. What do we do to do all of that effectively? See, that's what we should be looking at right there. Joe Scott, he's got quite the pedigree right there, but I'm not sure he's the guy. Let's see if we can go ahead and continue here. Michael Moriarty is a guy that is certainly spoken about highly in these conversations right here. Disney Experiences VP and CFO. Michael Moriarty was part of the most recent game of musical chairs, being promoted from president and managing director of Hong Kong Disneyland to executive vice president and chief financial officer of Disney Experiences last October. As it noted at the time, this seemed like an actual promotion rather than a face-saving step towards the door. Moriarty brings nearly 2 decades of Disney leadership experience. He previously served as CFO at Walt Disney Imagineering and Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, and held finance leadership roles at Walt Disney World. Okay, so we have a guy who has had leadership roles at Walt Disney World previously, knows how that resort operates, knows how a resort should expand, maybe with Hong Kong Disneyland, and well, that resort is a very tough one to run. Okay, so he's obviously been in the thick of it, and also too CFO at Walt Disney Imagineering. So he understands how Walt Disney Imagineering works, especially on that monetary level. Okay, all right, you can kind of see why Michael Moriarty might be our guy. Let's move forward. Natasha Rafalski, I do believe. Yes? Okay. Disneyland Paris Presidente. Last but not least is Natasha, who has served as president of Disneyland Paris since 2018. Of the 4 candidates, Rafalski is perhaps the most intriguing because she represents a different profile than the others. Rafalski joined the Walt Disney Company in 1995 and had leadership positions in multiple markets. She spent several years as CFO for Disney's Greater China region, overseeing corporate treasury and financial negotiations for Shanghai Disney Resort. Quite the pedigree right there. She moved on to Disneyland Paris in 2017 as CFO and Senior Vice President of Business Strategy and Finance. Under Rafalski's leadership, Disneyland Paris has undergone an unprecedented transformation. She's currently overseeing a €2 billion expansion plan for Walt Disney Studios Park. I see. So she has been part of the group bringing stuff like the World of Frozen to life, which, by the way, did the Walt Disney Company actually talk about that in the last earnings call? She's also guided the resort through the post-pandemic recovery and positioned it for long-term growth as Europe's top tourist destination. How very interesting. This is why we gotta be looking at this direction right here, folks. maybe Rafalski is the guy. Or, sorry, do apologize, the gal. It's possible. Another gal that I think people might be wanting to look at is Jill Estorino. Jill Estorino is currently the Disneyland Resort president after taking the position from Thomas Moslem. Now, you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, Thomas Moslem, he just was made chairman. She's only been there for like a couple weeks. That's true. But remember, that's when Jeff Valley was on the table. Now that he's off, maybe Jill is your gal, right? Now, apparently, she's also overseeing projects at the Disneyland Paris Resort and so forth. And apparently, she has been known to handle expansions and so forth under her leadership in her various roles at the Disney parks. So I think they envisioned her originally to oversee Disneyland Forward, which, I mean, requires certainly a steady hand and somebody who is thinking not just 5 years into the future, but maybe as many as 40, right? It's a big deal to get Disneyland Forward activated over there at Disneyland Resort. It's going to be a multi-decades project in order to turn that from the world's most famous regional theme park into maybe an international destination. Okay, Jill Estorino sounds like your gal. But maybe, because the needs are being what they are, maybe it's like, hey, you know what? With Jeff gone, Jill's up next. It's possible. It hasn't been completely unprecedented either. I remember in the span of about a year, we had 3 park presidents at Disneyland Resort. I think it was Josh Dumaro, Rebecca Campbell, and Kim Potrock, if I'm remembering it correctly. It was quick. And honestly, this speaks to, my reservations about the leadership changes and position making when it comes to Disneyland Resort. It's required a steady hand. It certainly hasn't gotten that for a long, long time now, which is a shame. But maybe we can look at these 4 people right here and see whether or not our next Disney World president, Walt Disney World president, comes from one of these people right here. My money's on Michael Moriarty, if I had to be a betting man here. But honestly, any one of these people might make the position. And it's really crucial to find out who these people are, what their profiles are, and so forth, because, well, we got to be looking at the quality of work coming out of these projects. We have to be looking at the trajectory of some of these resorts and what they actually emphasized on. Was it guest experience? Was it cost reduction? Was it, increased revenues and so forth? How will we think of Walt Disney World in the next 10 years? A lot of that's going to be shaped by these executives. So I think it's an important story to cover in as much depth as possible. I understand it's a little bit dry. I do apologize, guys. But it really is something to see where this all goes, because honestly, it affects your everyday experience in these parks. It really does. It really, really does. Look at the diminishment, let's say, of the entertainment programs for Walt Disney World Resort. Well, a lot of that was going to be Jeff Valley making those calls, right? A lot of it's like, hey, we're only going to give you so much of a budget for entertainment at the resort. Now, maybe he's not making decisions about what show stays or not, but we know that a show will either stay or continue forward if it has the money necessary in order to facilitate. What happens when that budget is decreased for the entire resort complex? What shows stay, what shows go? Again, folks, it's important to really get down to the nitty-gritty on this stuff, because honestly, it will absolutely shape your impression of these resorts and certainly your vacations. All right, I think that just about does it for our presidential coverage right here. Let's see, I just want to make sure that I hit all my points right here. I do believe I did. Let's go ahead and bring on MJ back once again right here to highlight your experiences and your comments over there in the chat. So let's go ahead and do that right now. MJ, are you there?
I am here. I just have a comment that I highlighted here. I'm not too sure. It might be a question or just just piggybacking off the first comment. So we have Grand Regent Chopper again. And he or she is asking, if Josh D'Amaro spins off ESPN and their linear TV cable channels, do you think that weakens Dana Walden's power within the company?
That's an interesting question. Well, I think it's interesting. When it comes to linear networks and all of that, the television side, if they spin that stuff off, that certainly weakens Dana Walden at least a tad. But I'm pretty sure she is prioritizing probably Disney Plus already. So I don't know how meaningful that will actually be. And when it comes to sports and ESPN, that's really under Jimmy Pitaro. I think they made it pretty clear that, yes, okay, so creatively, right, Dana Walden is in charge of just about everything. But when it comes to sports, Jimmy Pitaro is certainly like their man. And it's a little bit distinct from Dana Walden's leadership, if I remember the structure correctly. So, Yeah, maybe you could say that it weakens their position just a tad if you look at the linear networks, broadcasting side, and all of that. But I don't know how meaningful that will actually be, because let's think about this for a second. How much of our image of the Walt Disney Company and the face they put out has originated within their television sector? Now, look, 30, 40 years ago, MJ, you remember this, right? The Wonderful World of Disney stuff, and you had Michael Eisner come out there, hey, this is what we're doing. Doesn't really happen anymore. Usually the company's messaging and its image is cultivated in other forms. In this case, I think it's really, they would have wanted to be streaming. So you kind of have to look at it from that perspective as well. But a good question for sure. MJ, is there anything else we should be highlighting before moving on to our next topic?
I think you're good to move on to the next topic. And folks in the chat, if you guys have anything, any Q's and A's for Vash, I'll definitely be sure to star them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. MJ, you're doing a wonderful job in that position right there. We certainly want to hear from you guys, and we are taking the time to do that. So thank you. Alrighty, let's go ahead and bring it back on here. Let's see where I'm going to go for our next topic right here. Yes, I think we should talk about this because it's a big deal. We've been covering this actually pretty regularly here on Vash Sky ParkCast, and now we have an update to share with you all. Let's go ahead and do that right now. And before I actually get started right here, let me go ahead and get another package set up for you in order to cover this properly. You got to have your visuals right here. Here we go. Walt Disney World News today. Epic Universe introduces open hub concept for Celestial Park, allowing limited access. Lauren Struckner has this over there at WDW May 11th, 2026. Yes, folks, the open hub concept that we've been talking about for Epic Universe, right? This idea that maybe you can actually walk in those gates without having paid a ticket, well, is now a reality officially. It's just in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected. There you go, folks. Attendees of the upcoming Beauty Conference in Orlando will be the first to experience Celestial Park as an open hub, confirming the rumors surrounding the installation of facial recognition devices around the park. You can see right here what those actually, those kind of facial recognition scanners at the portal entrances actually look like. And I do believe they now have like stanchions, like dividing them off and so forth now, which is not a good look. I don't like that, but c'est la vie. Last month, Universal started testing photo validation at individual Epic Universe portals, indicating that they could potentially sell tickets just for Celestial Park in the future. Well, I was actually thinking that they're not going to sell tickets for Celestial Park. They're going to open it up, right? Because, hey, guess what, folks? Epic Universe doesn't have an adjoining city walk from which to benefit from. And a lot of the best signature dining locations within this entire property are right in the middle. And that was done on purpose. This would mean guests could access Celestial Park's dining, including Pizza Moon, Atlantic, and Blue Dragon, shopping and live entertainment, but would not be able to pass through any portals. Now, that would be reserved for the paying guests. Or perhaps, maybe if they sectioned off one of these portals for a corporate event or something like that, you could do that here. We don't know yet how Stardust Racers and the Constellation Carousel would fit into the open hub approach. Well, I do. I've been told that these facial recognition scanners, well, they would actually be placed in front of the queues for those. So that's how they would actually handle it. As both attractions are officially located in Celestial Park. We now know that Universal is already utilizing this concept of private events, as a sponsored Instagram post made by Premier Beauty Shows reveals that a park for an upcoming Orlando conference is complimentary admission to Celestial Park, including parking, which I didn't think they were actually going to do, because you know how Universal loves its parking. What I mean by that is charging for it. This is by Alicia Stella right here, and she highlights this post on Instagram. Okay, Premier Beauty Shows, hashtag sponsored, hashtag ad. Enjoy an evening of complimentary admission to the Celestial Park area of Universal Epic Universe, where you'll have access to a variety of dining, shopping, and live entertainment. Complimentary self-parking available after 5 p.m. Interesting. Just present your Premier Orlando Conference badge ID at the park entrance. Dining reservations for parties larger than 6 can be booked via Celestial Group Dining at udx.com. Wow, interesting stuff right here. We thought we were going to have to wait a little while before actually hearing news about this. Instead, we hear that, at least today, this originally posted May 11th right here. Fascinating. Yeah. Look, folks, guys, Epic Universe, this open hub concept right here, it's built into the DNA of this park. This is something they absolutely are going to pursue. Now, people can have their, they obviously maybe have qualms about the implementation of this kind of service right here, especially for paying guests on the inside. There's no question about that. Obviously, it has to be taken with some care, because you don't want to overload even Celestial Park, that experience, for guests who are actually paying good money to be there. No question about that. Absolutely. So what did we see Universal do? A small-scale test, in this case with the Premier Beauty Shows, as it takes advantage of the nearby convention center for this place, which is a good way to go. Obviously, if it's at the convention center, it's not that far away from Epic Universe, just skip it a hop away, so transportation is not nearly as big of a deal. And to limit it to just convention goers, now, obviously, you have a regulated test by which you can actually test, I guess, this whole concept out. It's very interesting indeed. I'm really interested to see what exactly, how exactly this test actually goes, how they facilitate it, how these scanners work, and so forth. Do we actually hear news of anybody from this Premier Beauty Show actually getting on the inside of Dark Universe, for instance, and getting on an attraction when they're not supposed to? All these things are open questions, and it might be why Universal's like, okay, let's go ahead and have these guys come in. Now, I have heard, I think Theme Park Wizard actually had some commentary on this, that at night for this park, apparently it kind of dies off in terms of the amount of guests that are actually in the park at one time. And honestly, I think that's because they don't have a nighttime fireworks show or nighttime entertainment package. You need this activation, folks. It is so important to the whole ecosystem of a theme park operation that you have a nighttime entertainment package. Again, when you look at DCA 2.0, right, the version that launched in 2012 of that year, you saw Buena Vista Street, you saw Cars Land, all this new stuff, all this fantastic stuff, all of that. But what did they also include in that? They included World of Color. World of Color is meant to not only get you back into the park in those late evenings, but also to keep you longer. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, think about it. All your restaurants, all your shops, if you get people to stay longer with you, that means that there's that many more opportunities to have them eat, drink, shop, etc. It's vitally important, and Disney knew this very, very well when it came to Epcot. That's why there is a Lagoon show there, and that's why, let me just back up for a second. Okay, Harmonious. Oh, yeah, we gotta talk about it again. I know, folks, the taco barges, you remember that? They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that. And it didn't last very long. Why? Taco barges are bad, and they got a lot of complaints from the restaurateurs and everybody that were trying to provide experiences around that lagoon right there. But honestly, Harmonious wasn't the draw that they needed in order to keep that area occupied. there was a lot of bad will generated by those taco barges and so forth. And with all the issues related to all of that, it was decided, let's just scrap the whole thing and start again. Now, those barges were always meant to move on a nightly basis. Bob Chapek, unfortunately, in his infinite wisdom, cut that aspect of it, which basically did end Harmonious, to be honest with you. Maybe that changes, right? If those barges actually do move. Maybe Harmonious is still with us. But it wasn't long for this world, and that's why the company was very confident, with direction of Josh Morrow, by the way, providing us Luminous. Because it's like, we need a show back there. We need something that obviously doesn't create these sightline issues in the day. And we need an activation here that really gets people to come back, enjoy their time, and want to stay for that Lagoon show. But here's the thing. Epcot has had issues in the past keeping those restaurants full and occupied. In fact, in 1982, upon the realization that they had so many restaurants in the back of that park, well, that's where we got our first annual pass ever in the company's history. It was all because of Epcot, and really was all because of just keeping those restaurants full. Skip forward all these years later, well over 50 years now, I do believe, if my math is correct. Wow, been that long. Okay. If we skip all that time forward right there, well, we now have this situation which Epic Universe is maybe not hugely attended at night. We have a lot of restaurants in the corridor or in the core of this park right here. Instead of having annual pass holders, we could just open it up to everybody just for these experiences in the center of this park. And honestly, that's always been the DNA of this park. It is built to function like that if necessary. And I think they're going to be pursuing that. Again, we're going to start concluding. I think the next quarter actually concludes this kind of these year-over-year figures that have Epic Universe and especially the theme park division within Comcast. They have these kind of double-digit gains that we've been seeing. Well, that's going to start to level out, normalize out right there. How can Universal actually show that they have increased revenue significantly year to year? What levers can they pull? It's right here. It's the open hub concept. Maybe, that is helped by annual pass holders and all of that, but for right now, that's all about getting these restaurants full, which, from what I understand, they're not currently, even though the attractions are in the triple digits in terms of wait time. So they obviously need more ride capacity, there's no question. But they also need more people in there to shop at these restaurants and these dining experiences. So how do you do that? Open hub concept, which, like I said, was built in on day one. Could we see Disney actually utilizing a similar system for Epcot? Maybe for the rear of that park right there? Crazier things have happened, folks. But I think the entire amusement world got its eyes trained on Epic Universe. Because honestly, I think, I was talking about this with theme park conductor Orange Go 55 and Jared from Capture the Magic, talking about the prospect of maybe implementing a system that's similar to this with perhaps Disneyland's next park. It'd be an idea, especially when it comes to a space-limited operation that is. It might actually make a lot of sense. But we'll have to wait on that and see how this open hub concept actually does. Obviously, too, we have to wait for annual passes and how that's actually going to work out as well. There are multiple iterations of this that we really need to monitor. But if, in fact, this location can open via this open hub concept and maybe get an entertainment package in there at night, like a nighttime activation, man, Epic Universe will be the place to be. And the prospect of maybe open hub people getting access to a nighttime activation within a park like this without having been charged for it, that's a really cool prospect for consumers. I can just tell you right now, that would be awesome. And I do believe they're, rehabbing the the Fountain Lagoon show right there. I know they have it drained right now and they're working on it. And I think they're looking at more fireworks launch points. They're getting ready. Let's see where that all goes. Well, in the years ahead. Without Jeff Valley, of course. last story. It doesn't connect, but well, there you go. Maybe that's also another reason why Jeff Valley's out. Actually, couldn't lap Epic Universe. Couldn't fend it off right there. Sad to see. All right, MJ, come on back here. What do you have for us when it comes to comments from the audience and interesting commentary, questions, and so forth? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, we got 2 interesting questions, but we do have an amazing super chat from our good friend O2RR, $4.99. I don't like the idea of turning Celestial Park into another city walk. Celestial Park is very much part of the overall experience at Epic.
I know. People have a lot of reservations about this. There's no question about it. Understandably, and O2RR, thank you so much for the super chat. Very much appreciate your support of the channel. No, I look, listen, I know a lot of people are going to have some strong thoughts, strong comments about the guest mix right there. Look, a lot of ticket holders, when it comes to these annual pass holder heavy locations, have a lot of reservations about those annual pass holders themselves. Like this what do you want to say? This conflict, this friction, right, between these disparate guest mixes there. It's existed for a while. Because obviously annual passes, while they are paying for access, they're paying on an annual basis, not necessarily on a daily basis, which we know is a little bit more expensive. So this friction has existed before. I would love to have these places preserved for the people who actually pay for it. There's no question about that. But I've also heard that Epic Universe could really benefit from it. And that if you look at how many people are actually leaving, it might not be as terrible of an idea as it maybe sounds like on paper. But thank you, O2RR. Very much appreciate that. MJ, thank you.
We have
just right here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Sorry. No, I had my mic muted and I'm like, it's just.
Oh, I see. Well, go ahead, please. Just a Dutchie.
We have, yeah, thank you so much for joining Just a Dutchie. Facial recognition just joined, but is there news on the Disney app that they want to launch? So you have to do everything on that app. I would be worried to download it because of potential hacks.
Yeah. So this is the super app concept. So we covered this a little bit for the earnings call, and I think we covered it over there on Theme Park Director's channel earlier this week. To some great extent right there. Dutchie, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Very much appreciate you. Okay, they want to do Bloomberg had this article and obviously the earnings call. Josh D'Amaro doubled down on this One Disney concept where their portal into the magic as it relates to digital technology entirely in general, whatever, your portal, your gateway to everything Disney virtually will be Disney Plus. That's what they eventually want, right? And so the Disney Store, Disney Plus, and I think Bloomberg has the article actually talking about this. Let me go ahead and bring it up. I can't bring it up on screen because it is behind a paywall, but I can go ahead and read this paragraph right here. Let's see. Just give me a second, folks. I just want to go ahead and... Okay, yeah. Disney's CEO, Josh D'Amaro, was attempting to break silos within the company and simplify how customers interact with the brand. The new app would marry Disney Plus with mobile platforms such as Disneyland Resort, Disney Cruise Line Navigator apps into what's internally being called as a super app. Okay, so Disney Store, right? Or is that called Shop Disney Store? I don't even know. Anyway,
you said
all
it
of these
properly.
Okay.
Disney Store.
And by the way, Disney Plus. Not Disney Plus. Disney Play, the Play app, right? Mm-hmm. The separate app that you have to load on your phone if you want to go ahead and interact with features at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for example, right? That also too would be incorporated into this super app. And
so in other words, you can book your hotel and buy a plushie and make that lightning lane all in one convenient app.
There you go. And also watch your favorite Disney movies, right? So it's all of that and more, which I have big problems with because the required complexity and the communication that you'll have to have with these teams on the ground for these parks in order to fully service them, it gets real complicated real fast. And the size gets huge, right? MJ, think about it. I mean, all these different apps, you're talking about like over 2 gigabytes of total information if you include like Disneyland Paris, for example, and everything else.
Yeah, the current My Disney Experience app can barely do the job on its own. It automatically takes you to a web browser on your smart device. So good luck with that, Disney.
Yeah, the web wrapper there. I love that. Yeah, so, what we need, MJ, is more complexity, not less. Yeah, that's all going to work out. Just Dutchy, thank you so much. I would be hesitant about this move. We'll see how it all works. Security-wise, Disney's been okay, but obviously a grave concern. Please, go ahead.
Another comment from our new friend here, Grand Regent Chopper. He or she is on fire today with all the comments. By the way, I love the avatar, One Piece. Woohoo! VashSky, do you believe that if Disney wants to compete against Universal with Mario, they would open the 5th gate and put Minecraft Land in Fortnite Land? Disney is partnered with Microsoft. Wow. Not sure.
Do you believe that if Disney wants to compete against Universal Mario, they would open the 5th gate and put Minecraft in Fortnite Land? So the competing with Universal with a 5th gate at all is no-go. Is just not what the company wants to do. I think they look at the park situation when it comes to Walt Disney World in terms of gates, right? I think they feel that they have to complete the existing gates first and not have another mediocre gate what is it? Another gate to be a letdown within the property that they have to like eventually build out or whatever. I think it's more like, okay, let's keep our costs contained by tying into existing infrastructure and expanding these parks out, rather than going through the very tumultuous process, complex process, and expensive process of developing a new park. That's kind of their strategy going forward right there. So 5th gate, not in line for the company's future. When it comes to Fortnite and Minecraft, I'm not sure if they would ever pursue that. Fortnite, it looks like they are trying to, which is weird because Fortnite recently, I don't know if you heard, MJ, but it's not doing well at all. Like, it is becoming a new WoW situation in which it is just, players are simply not coming back. They are checking out. They're checking out other games. They're obviously getting into other experiences online and so forth. So it's like, I don't know how long Fortnite's going to be with us.
It's not intriguing at all for the kids. They're steering away from it. And Roblox is probably more popular than that, which is another subject.
Oh, that's no good. And then Grammar Chopper has another question right here. Just after that, I do believe, right? Disney partners with Epic Games. So would it be a stretch? It wouldn't be a stretch. Honestly, look out when it comes to valuation and the potential of Epic being bought, because I think there's real discussion surrounding the acquisition of Epic. Now, I know Josh Giamaro, he gave his little upfront speech recently, right? In which he says, oh, well, everybody else is consolidating, everybody else is trying to catch up to what we are, but we are already what we are, kind of thing, which is a very interesting way of putting all of that. But he's intimating that there's going to be no consolidation going forward, or very little relative to the overall market. I'm not sure. If Epic's up for grabs, Disney might take it, but we'll see.
That's all, folks. For now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, MJ, for coming on in and providing that voice to our many voices out there. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the next topic right here. This one's very interesting, folks. Let's see if I can go ahead and bring this up. We just recently talked about, actually, the recent, the plans to electrify Autotopia over there at Disneyland. Now, when we talked about this originally, there was a point brought out in Brady McDonald's article, actually, that I thought was really interesting, that they actually worked with what is it, it's like an emissions board or something like that in California in order to facilitate the implementation of this electrified version of this classic attraction. Again, this opens in 1955 and has been always gas powered. In fact, when you're next to the Tomorrowland Speedway or the Disneyland Autotopia, you can certainly hear it and you can definitely smell it. It is, it puts out a little bit of that, of those fumes right there. So I think the inclusion of maybe working with a California-based emissions group right there was a little bit surprising. But now there's more to that story, which is very, very interesting. Disneyland pays $56,000 settlement for modified Autopia engines. This is really, really fascinating. I had no idea this was actually that this was actually happening. Now, normally I would actually bring up that Orange County Register Brady McDonald article, but unfortunately it's behind a paywall. But I went ahead and did some more digging, and I found the California Air Resources Board website. So, well, there you go. And it details some interesting things. I also found the original PDF document, here you go, boop, that actually talks about the settlement agreement that Disney actually paid. So maybe it's better than a source article. You be the judge right there. But California Air Resources Board website says this. Walt Disney Parks and Resorts Incorporated settles for $56,250. In August 2024, the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, you got to cut the carbs, folks. That's what you got to do. Reached a settlement with Walt Disney Parks and Resorts US Incorporated, Disney, with its principal location in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, an amusement park in Anaheim, California, for small off-road engines or SOARs equipment violations related to CARB's evaporative emissions requirements for off-road equipment, evaporative emissions regulation, as codified in the California Code of Regulations, Title 13, Sections 2750 through 2774. Disney voluntarily disclosed to CARB that it had delivered or imported into California for introduction into commerce in California SOAR equipment that was not in all material respects the same equipment as certified under Disney's Executive Order, UU 217004. To settle the case, Disney agreed to the penalty of $450 per unit of non-compliance SOAR equipment for a total penalty of $56,000, and $250. I butchered that, but you get the point. Now, if we actually do the math on that, that'll actually tell us how many Autopia cars there are. Well, at least those in violation. Let's see if we can actually determine that. This is interesting. Let's see right here. 56,250 divided by 450. Ooh, 125. Whoops. That's 125 violations, folks. That'll get you. Disney electing to provide $28,000 to a supplemental environmental protection or environmental project entitled Cleaner Air, Greener Schools. These funds will be used to install indoor air quality sensors, air purifiers, and outdoor air quality sensors in 10 schools in Southern California. $28,000 for that for 10 schools. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's what's going on. Sorry if I didn't explain all of this as neatly as I possibly could have provided. The claim that Brady McDonald was actually talking about was that Disney had modified portions of these engines, but and that's, they didn't actually get them certified via emission standards right there. They voluntarily said, hey, look, listen, we're not in compliance with CARB here and what they want from us, and that was the agreed upon penalty right there. fair enough. But the California Air Resources Board is saying something a little bit different than the reporting initially that I got, at least my impression of it anyway, from Brady McDonald's original post. They're saying, let me see right here, that, yes, it is basically just essentially covers what we actually read right there, but they actually imported bad parts or parts that were not, approved for this use case right here, which is really, really interesting. Was there a foul up in all of this on Disney's part? Was Disney being shady? I'm not entirely sure, but I'm telling you, folks, even if it's 56,000, Disney doesn't incur those, those penalties lightly. It's not like they just violate everything that they want to and then pay off everything on the back end. That is something that they want to go ahead and avoid as much as possible, and yet it happened here 125 times. So what actually happened here? That's the big question that we all have. Now, the PDF from the California Air Resources Board is provided right there. That goes into a little bit more specificity on the case and so forth, and how it's actually going to be adjudicated and all of that, which is very, very interesting. Disney shall pay the civil penalty by check, credit, card, wire transfer, or portal payable to the California Air Resources Board. So it goes in to this with that much specificity right there. But in terms of which parts they actually were, I didn't see what that was right there. But I don't think so anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me see right here, folks. Sorry about this. Let's see. The evaporative emissions regulation requires all SOAR engines that are manufactured for sale or leased for use or operation in California, sold, leased for use or operation in California, or delivered or imported into California for introduction to commerce in California. That would be the Autotopia requirement right there, to be equipped with an evaporative emissions control system that is certified according to the certification requirements and procedures, meets the external emissions and design standards, fuel cap performance standards, and carbon canister size requirements, is probably tested following all required test procedures. It's very interesting to read this because LA actually just passed a provision, or at least passed a policy. It says they won't be pulling over people with broken taillights and issues regarding tags and registration and all that. They're just not going to bother with that. But we're going to have fuel cap performance standards for Autotopia cars. Okay. I guess. Guys, folks, we're saving the environment. One Autotopia car at a time. But this is why, as I think Ryan here points out right here, you're telling me that the thing that made them decide to electrify Autotopia was an emissions scandal? Guess there's no hope for Tomorrowland Speedway then. That is correct. Disney, I'm surprised they're even going forward with this whole thing to begin with, honestly, because Autotopia, yes, it is a beloved attraction, and obviously it was one of the top 3 attractions when this park opened. But again, that was the 1950s, right? The fact that they are wanting to keep this around for future generations here and are spending so much money in order to do that on top of this 56,000 right here is kind of crazy. And again, they're going to have, they're saying they're testing an Autotopia vehicle right now on the track right there. If you are not making modifications to the track in order to provide bus power to these vehicles while they're in motion, that signifies to me that they're going to go with the battery operated route, which is fine, but you need a tremendous amount of power in order to provide for those charging station infrastructure, etc., to actually facilitate this, as we pointed out last week when we covered this. So the fact they're even doing that at all is kind of crazy to me, be honest with you, because I think a lot of people have thought of this area like, hey, this would be an area to develop for future expansion when it comes to Disneyland, and maybe usher in a new Tomorrowland, which I guess we could all be hopeful for. But that's not what this is all about, folks. This is why this is not going to signify a new Tomorrowland, because honestly, this is Disney trying to play nice and be in accordance with the California Air Resources Board. What more can you say?
Time to be turning around. If only you could.
If only you could. That's the big thing right here. If only you could. Disney cannot. California can't as well. At least when it comes to some of their green policies. Okay. Look, I don't mean to get political. Okay, I don't like it. I don't like it. But in this case, unfortunately, it did impact Disney operations at Disneyland, and well, might be ushering in a new Autotopia. It's kind of part of the conversation. What Disney actually does in their land is, as long as it's in accordance with broader California laws, I think it's okay, right? And honestly, I think the emission standards as it relates to little Autopia cars isn't going to meaningfully move the needle one way or another when it comes to, emissions and everything else. So I just don't know. I got thoughts on all of this stuff. C'est la vie. Imagine battery charges gas more reliable than electric. Dan's Life of the Kingdom says, yeah, that's the thing. That's the big thing when it comes to all this stuff, right? Because it's like, okay, if you move in this direction, remember, batteries don't last forever. They have to be eventually discarded. And so how do you handle that, right? Whereas Autopia cars, and I believe Honda provided the motors in its most recent revision right here. I can't quite remember, but, a lot of these parts are serviceable. A lot of the parts within, some of these new, green technologies aren't. How does that affect your costs going forward? These are all kind of big questions that we have regarding this whole project. But now we know why Disney specifically is working with the California Air Resources Board. Because they were penalized by them, which is very, very interesting. That got a little bit political. I do apologize, folks. That's not my intention for this show. I don't like running into the realm of politics, but it's so important to cover these stories accurately. So hopefully you give me a little bit of leeway, at least on this one right here. MJ, are you back there? I think we have a lot of people that are very interested in this specific story right here. What can you tell me of their interest, please?
I think people are just having fun in the comments about this specific segment. I don't think it's anything out of the serious or anything to point out. But
Okay, good.
We're having a good old time. We have
Good.
Follow the Bradley's fun. Gas can be supplied by Taco Bell, and
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean,
that's true.
We have O2RR, Yo Quiero Taco Bell. So yeah, I think everyone's just having a good old time right now, Vash. We're good.
Fantastic. I am glad to hear that right there. 56,000, is it a price that the company can incur? Absolutely, sure, why not? But with these parks and these individual budgets, it cuts into them, so maybe we don't get that nice awning on that new Edelweiss Snacks location at Disneyland. I'm just saying. No, I'm sure they'll be just fine. But very interesting stuff indeed. I just wanted to go ahead and make you aware of that thing because I thought it was just so fascinating right there. Interesting stuff indeed. Let's see. We have a few more stories and a few more minutes to provide you to them, so let's go ahead and get right on to it. In this case, we have a new patent that everybody was raving about not too long ago. Here you go. Let's go ahead and put this on screen right now. Again, this is a little bit older, as you can see, 18 days ago, but I thought we'd cover it because, you know what? That's what we do here. We cover all things theme parks. There you go. Disney's new AI system could speed up ride loading at Walt Disney World, and here's how it works. I'm bringing this up to showcase multiple things here. It's not just a patent specific. There's a couple of finer points I want to get to within this, but let's go ahead and see what the story is all about. Disney has filed a new patent for a system that uses cameras and machine learning to automatically verify that ride restraints are properly secured before a vehicle dispatches. If deployed, At Walt Disney World, the technology could have a significant impact on ride loading times and overall throughput. That's true. Very much indeed. Let's read on before getting into the commentary section of this video. Published on April 23rd, 2026, U.S. Patent Applications U.S. 2026 01093116A1 describes a system and method for verifying proper usage of passenger restraints. The system uses video cameras combined with machine learning models to analyze whether a passenger restraint, such as a seat belt, lap bar, or over-the-shoulder restraint, is secured properly before a guest, on a guest before a ride dispatches. Okay, how the system works: the technology works by capturing continuous video for each passenger seat during the loading process. A restraint verification platform then analyzes that footage using multiple machine learning models trained to detect the passenger's body position and size, the type of loading restraint, the type of restraint being used, and whether the restraint is correctly securing the passenger. One of the more notable aspects of the system is its ability to detect improper use that human operators might miss. The patent specifically calls out scenarios where a guest may be sitting on top of a seatbelt rather than behind it. Yes, the Tower of Terror incident. We'll go over that in just a moment. Or where the belt has been intentionally extended beyond its proper length to create a false sense of being secured. Interesting. The system doesn't rely on video alone. It combines video analytics and data from additional sensors, including seat sensors that detect whether a guest is seated, clasping sensors that confirm whether a restraint is locked, and rotary encoder devices that measure the physical length of the seatbelt extended. Cross-referencing all these data sources, that's where the system can flag for discrepancies, and that's where you can maybe intervene if required. Okay. So let's go ahead and go over this just real fast right here, because this idea, right, that this system would be used in order to make up for maybe a cast member who would actually perform this check manually, right? So we've all been on these attractions over there at Disneyland or Walt Disney World or whatever. When you get into a ride vehicle, right, they have to check your restraint, whether that be a dark ride through, I don't know, Mr. Joe's Wild Ride, or something like Space Mountain, or even like Ridge of Springs Racers Test Track, the Walt Disney World equivalent over there, where they have to check your seatbelt. Not physically, but they want to see that you actually pull on that yellow tab. Okay, fair enough. I can tell you right now, folks, there is no legal outfit out there. There's no law group, no series of attorneys on that work within the United States that would ever sign off on a check by human hands being replaced by AI. There is not an insurance company out there that would accept an AI-driven model like this to replace manual checking by cast members. That does not exist, and it will never exist. Look, checking ride vehicles has been with us for a while. I think it's been with us for at least 40 years, if not 40 years, if not longer. And a lot of the procedures and policies that have become basically ubiquitous within the amusement industry actually stem back to the 1987. It was Lightning. What was that attraction called again? I had it in my head. It was the Lightning Loops incident. Yes, that's the one right there. In 1987 at Six Flags Great Adventure over there in California. And what happened in 1987 was that a woman that was on that attraction, Lightning Loops, dispatched without her restraint harness right there, which Lightning Loops, if you don't know, it's basically, an inverting looping coaster it's just basically the loop. It's kind of it, right? but it was two of them, kind of side by side there, and one interlinking into another one. Okay. Her ride restraint system did not activate. That train was dispatched, and unfortunately, she lost her life. 75 feet. Not good. Terrible incident. Absolutely horrible. Okay, and that changed the industry forever because there were conversations about, okay, was it Six Flags' fault? Was it the ride attendant's fault? Or was it her fault? Like, this was litigated in court. And the allegation was, from Six Flags' perspective, was that she might have actually disembarked and then re-embarked. Or possibly, went up the exit and embarked from that side. And because she did that, she was able to get in, and that ride was able to be dispatched without a check. That's from their perspective. That's what they've said. The, I believe, boyfriend of the incident said, who was with her, said that there was not a safety check actually performed meaningfully by the team member there. That there's a lot of theories in regards to that, but Six Flags was eventually fined. I believe $1,000 because that was the maximum fine at the time, or whatever. And they did make changes to that the operations of that specific attraction, that being lightning loops there. Before it was, I think, closed a couple of years later. And then obviously there are new policies in place, not just for Six Flags, but also to industry wide when it comes to the checking procedures when it comes to ride dispatches, right? And how they're actually performed. There were some international standards that were actually that have emanated largely because of that incident. Air gates, all of that. It all changes. 1987 onward. Okay. You're just not going to get around that. It's not going to happen. In fact, because of that incident, there was an international standard established in which Cedar Fair actually, applied for its policies and procedures related to its dispatches for its attractions. And I believe that international standard mandates that that team members, I should say, sorry, have to go up and down the length of these ride vehicles or coaster trains or whatever, and check both restraints. And this international standard also provides for, if you have a lap bar, it has to have a seatbelt accompany it. All of these things are not just to increase safety. They were to reduce liability, and they're to reduce their insurance costs. That's why they've implemented them. You're not going to get around that by an AI-driven system. You're just not. Now, if you want to, add this on, sure. But you're not going to get around the use of a cast member. And here's the thing, folks. Why are we talking about this? Because, well, your ride dispatches are really, honestly, what is going to determine whether or not you ride Space Mountain that day or how long you wait for it. Because you got to think. For Space Mountain here, that dispatch, by the way, is 20 seconds. It's really, really quick. And it has to be, or else that ride cascades, which is, it breaks down. Okay. Well, which is why I always film it, because it's a very interesting process to see how they actually contend with that. But for every single second a ride doesn't dispatch is a second added on to, obviously, the ride time, the wait time, etc. Okay, we get all that. But there's more implications than that. If these stack up, then you might get one last dispatch per day. And if you're, and these are just seconds. If you add on minutes, now you're looking at a tremendous reduction of how many dispatches per day that you can actually facilitate. Not only that, but obviously in the span of an hour, how many dispatches you get per hour and so forth. Dispatch times are, they're critical in the overall operation and the overall capacity for these attractions. How many people they move per hour. So getting that dispatch time down, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It's fantastic. I would absolutely see why you'd want to do that. This is not going to be it, though. In fact, there might be more time added as we wait for the system. And there are electric treks already in place. I believe Hagrid's works like that. It has a very interesting ride mechanism, ride system in order to alert team members working that attraction whether or not their seats and restraints are in place, and what actually happens if it's not. Mechanical checks, light checks, that's been a part for decades. So the interesting thing, the interesting added detail of having a system that could actually be better than ride checks, for example, like Tower of Terror, right? So Tower of Terror and the equivalent at Disneyland, the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout attraction, had an incident in which there was like a TikTok trend, I guess, of people deceiving cast members knowingly and willingly in such a manner that hid the restraint. So what they would do is they would actually buckle it behind themselves, right? And then when the actual cast member goes, hey, let's go ahead and pull on the yellow tab, which they've now added yellow tabs, by the way, to every single seatbelt out there at Disneyland, right? In order to mark this way of cast members being able to tell whether or not your seatbelt's fully engaged, you pull on that tab, and the cast member sees that and goes, okay, that's engaged, you're good, you're going. Well, previously to this incident, that's all they would look at. So these TikTokers, all that, they got really clever and thought, oh, let's go ahead and just buckle it behind ourselves and then hit that yellow tag that's sticking out. We're good to go. Now you can obviously see why that would be a terrible safety situation. So Disney did something about it. Now they have that cast member ensure that belt is in front of them, like it's supposed to be. And I've seen on modern attractions going forward that they've been switching out seatbelts with not black seatbelts, but black seatbelts with a yellow line through them, so that they absolutely know that seatbelt is over your waist and it is engaged. That's why that patent calls that out specifically, because of that incident. So there you go. You're just not going to get around a physical check. It's just not. And yeah, I think a lot of the chat is actually talking about additional items, right? So back in the 1970s, you can see, you can see footage from the 1990s of attractions in which personal belongings weren't as ubiquitous as they are today. Those ride dispatches, maybe not at Disney, but at Six Flags parks, Cedar Fair parks, etc., they were much faster. Well, now that everybody's carrying a whole bunch of bags, right? A whole bunch of, those metal tumblers right there, those mugs, right? When everybody has a lot of those items with them, well, obviously that contributes to dispatch time because, people have to do something with them. Which is why Universal has taken the tact of, okay, we're going to have lockers before the ride load area. That way you can put yourself in the lockers, and then based on how that ride is laid out, at the exit, you can actually retrieve those. They've done this with Jurassic, a Velocicoaster, right? I believe they didn't do it with Hagrid's, but they're going to do it with Fast and Furious and all of that. Tron, obviously at Walt Disney World, they implements a similar system in order to cut down on the personal belongings that people take actually with them, in order to cut down on ride dispatch times. There you go. That's the science. That's how these things work. I am an operational nut, so I love talking about this stuff. It's all about how many cars can you get through and out. That is it. That is your determination on whether or not you wait an hour or you wait an hour 30 minutes, so forth. So there you go. That's what we're talking about. I wanted to go ahead and bring that patent to you because I thought it was really fascinating, really interesting, and debunk the claim that it could ever at all make up for a real human being right there. All right, let's go ahead and bring on MJ. Oh, there we go. And let's see from her what you guys have to say about this topic. Please go ahead.
Some really good comments. Freedom seeker. So it's just a way to cost cut cast members and force us to trust AI with our safety.
Yeah. Oh, Disney
Yeah.
might want to be doing that for sure. I just don't know if they're going to actually do that. Now, you could, Freedom Seeker, to your point, you could see a reduction in cast members on the platform. That's a possibility. But I do think there's always going to be a physical check of some kind. We'll see.
And we have Texas. Once I had trouble with the Matterhorn seatbelt and the cast member checking was missing. I was freaking out. I would have been freaking out too.
I would have been freaking out as well. There is no way do they let that bobsled go up that mountain without checking every single one. So even if the cast member was missing at the time, which I know they've cut down a little bit on the cast members there, that they have to go back and forth or whatever. Trust me, the dispatch station, they know whether or not that has been checked. So they're waiting for that cast member to come back. That's why you experienced that delay right there. I would be shocked, and maybe you have a lawsuit there, if that bobsled ever takes off without a proper safety check.
You know, it's funny because before the closing of Dinosaur over at Animal Kingdom at the Walt Disney World Resort, they had the yellow tag that you're talking about, but that ride is gone now, and I'm not sure if the Indiana Jones replacing it will have that kind of system with this new AI stuff you're talking about, Vash. So very interesting.
You know, it is really interesting that you bring that up, MJ, because handle the yellow tags. I'm sure they'll have yellow tags as well. I don't see them removing that system, but maybe this is going to be the first time that they actually implement an AI system. Who knows? They did, though. They added cameras in the back of the dinosaur ride vehicles. I don't know if you saw that, MJ, but there was this apparatus behind you. You can't see it on these Indiana Jones vehicles, which utilize the same system as Dinosaur. But in Dinosaur, they had these cameras that they set up that were behind you. They, behind the third row. That actually gave a visual, a top-down view for the cast members there, who was actually, buckled in and everything else. So there have been alterations to that, MJ, interestingly enough, in ways that we necessarily haven't seen for any other attraction before or since.
That's very interesting. I'm so glad I learned something new, even though that ride is gone forever. Follow the Bradley's fun. I like the way Tron does it. They do a very good job with that locker system before you board the vehicle. And you were right, Vash. Velocicoaster does have the lockers implemented at Universal and Hagrid's as well. So maybe Disney World will get on board with that. We'll see.
I think Disney World, going forward with any coaster that they actually build, they're gonna implement a similar system to what they have actually done at Tron and what Universal has done. I will say the interesting thing about Tron is that I think you use your Magic Band, right, in order to interact with that. That can be a little finicky. So I've seen a lot more people actually ask customers for help in that instance, and I haven't seen as much of that with Universal. So maybe that's something that they actually work on, improve on, all of that. But yeah, I do agree. I like the Tron system. I like the Velocicoaster system. I like these systems in which you can just store your stuff right before the load platform. Storing your stuff outside of the queue, especially if you're there for an hour or two,
the team members do a really good job at making sure you are putting everything in that locker before you get in the queue line. As always, we want to make sure we always
remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
At all times.
Chef's kiss, MJ. Chef's kiss. Thank you so much for that. And yes, I do agree. Remain seated, please, if you could, with all your hands, arms, feet, legs inside the right vehicle at all. All right. Here we go. We're moving on to our next story here. This one a little bit smaller, a little bit more minor, but certainly disrupted the day for Magic Mountain goers over there at the Six Flags California Park. Here you go. Let me go ahead and put this on screen right now. If I can go ahead and work the thing. No, not that. Come on, StreamYard. What are you doing to me? Here you go. By People magazine Six Flags Magic Mountain shut down after reported. Can we say this word on YouTube? I don't even know. Blank threat as police sweep the park. You can go and read it for yourself, folks. A spokesperson for Six Flags Magic Mountain confirmed to People, quote, the park underwent a thorough safety check by police earlier today. This by Italia. By Italia. Published on May 11th, 2026. Here you go, folks. Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California delayed its opening earlier today after a reported blank threat prompted a police investigation. Authorities reportedly evacuated employees and conducted a sweep with over a dozen police vehicles and an armored vehicle on site. Whoa! Police determined that there was no credible threat at the park reopened at 12:30 p.m. local time. Whoa, that is significant when it comes to the operation of that park right there. That's what if that park opens at 10, that's 2.5 hours. Police shut down and investigated Six Flags Magic Mountain following a reported threat on Monday, May 11th. Spokesperson for the Valencia, California amusement park confirmed to People in a statement that the park delayed its opening after undergoing a safety check by police. Quote, earlier today, the park underwent a thorough safety check by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and California Highway Patrol. The park appreciates the timely response by both law enforcement agencies and values the ongoing partnership and commitment to keeping our communities and guests safe, the statement read. The spokesperson added that the park was expected to open at 12:30 p.m. local time Monday and emphasized that, quote, safety is one of our top priorities. That's expected to open at 12:30. Okay, I see. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department confirmed to People that officers investigated the area and determined that there was no threat. Deputy personnel investigated the call for service that determined there was no evidence of anything that was initially reported to us, which is good. But you can see right here, this was quite the nightmare here for people in and around the area, I'm sure. Magic Mountain Amusement Park entrance will be shut down as CHP works with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Office after receiving multiple threats at the park. You can see right here, Magic Mountain actually putting out a list of different items on social media to indicate that, yes, they're aware of, the issues plaguing the park on that day. That was at 9:30 a.m. California time on May 11th right there. That was delivered. And then it wasn't until many hours later that we actually got this message from Magic Mountain that they were going to be opening at 12:30. It's no good. You can also see some video right here that KTLA has. Ooh, that's some interesting stuff right there. And I believe Eyewitness News has some images for us as well. You can also see that police vehicle, that military vehicle right there, that heavily armored vehicle, I should say. Ooh, that is not good. We do not want that. That's not a good thing right there. But again, this comes from, this is kind of a line of things happening right here. Obviously, there's been some teen takeovers plaguing parks all across America, including Knott's Berry Farm and Six Flags Magic Mountain and so forth. So these various parks have had to implement chaperone policies in order to cut down on that kind of stuff happening there, which is good. But we've also seen like the swatting incident over there at Disneyland, the swatting incident involving Oblivion, in which you had a huge police presence actually disrupt operations for that park that day. And unfortunately, due to maybe the conduct of Oblivion that day, he was trespassed going forward, which is interesting because he was actually the victim of the swatting incident. But it was really interesting to see the uptick in these related events, especially when it comes to these Southern California theme parks. So I'm hoping things calm down just a little bit. But man, this has been so disruptive. It's never good to see anything these things impact the way that they have. Hey, Tom F. That was a fun stream to be on with you. I agree right there. Tom F. joined us for that Oblivion coverage right there, which, by the way, we do have that as a live stream on this channel right here. Just scroll down a little bit. You can see banned and swatted as the thumbnail. Trust me, folks, if you have not seen that incident, you definitely want to check it out because that could be the inciting incident for changes related to live streaming at the parks going forward. People are like, why is this happening now? That's why it's happening now. Definitely check out that live stream to watch the stream with us of the Oblivion stream in which all of this stuff goes down. It is wild, crazy. Tom F right there was had joined me for that. Very cool stuff indeed. So definitely check that out. Alrighty, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and get one more story in here, MJ, before actually bringing on our amazing commenters. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring that up right now before we actually do that. Go ahead and get this last story, then those comments, and then we will send you on over to follow the Bradley's Fun amazing channel there. Now we have time for maybe one more story. So I want to go ahead and save the cast member story related to maybe a trespassing that actually went out after a cast member was physically assaulted by a guest. Very interesting stuff right there. But that'll take a little bit more time and discourse for us to relay. I know I've been promising that story for a little while. Don't worry, folks. We'll cover it tomorrow. Probably at 7. I thought I was going to go a little bit earlier, but there haven't been. I don't think we have the catalog of stories requiring that, but definitely stay subscribed to the channel, folks, and turn on those bell notifications to be notified when we actually go live. If in fact it's going to be early or at our regularly scheduled time. Here you go again from people, again from Natalia. That's a very interesting thing. Amusement park swing ride abruptly stalls, leaving guests unable to move as they dangled 200 feet in the air. Uh-oh. That's not good. This is a swing ride, folks. This is not where you want to be. if you're up there for, 5-10 minutes. A guest at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas recalled the scary situation after she and her fellow riders were left hanging in the air on the Supergirl Skyflight attraction. Here we go. Let's see if they got the video right here. We also have the video. Riders were stuck 200 feet in the air after the Supergirl Skyflight stopped at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. The ride was stopped because a guest violated safety rules by holding out their cell phone midair. Personal possessions, folks. Personal possessions. A park spokesperson told People. All guests were safely restrained, and the ride resumed operation after the issue was resolved. But 10 minutes up there, and you can see from this video, this provided by, I believe, Storyful News. Here you go, what that looked like. That's, I don't know. I don't know, folks. I mean, that's pretty high. I like swing rides, I do, but that's high. I don't know about that. 10 minutes, by the way, there, guys. I don't know if I would be super comfortable with that. It just gets a little bit unnerving every single passing second that this thing doesn't move, and you're waiting for announcements that you might not hear. Not great, but apparently, yeah, cell phones sticking out right there, which ironically, because the guy recording has a cell phone out. Now, I guess his is maybe closer to his chest, but not good. Not good right here. This is why also, too, selfie sticks are banned. They have been banned for a long, long time at Disneyland Resort right there. They never want to see that. At least one with like a telescoping feature on it because of incidents related to, actually, I think, Incredicoaster technically right there, which, by the way, Incredicoaster is one attraction which it's not super easy to live stream on, especially if you have a gimbal or whatever. Sometimes they let you, sometimes they don't. It's a little bit uneven right there. But, yeah, I mean, the worry is that you have a cell phone that's being held out that gets dropped, and you just never know where that's going to go, right? I mean, if you look 200 feet in the air, that cell phone could go anywhere, especially with momentum. So I could definitely see why they stopped it, but 10 minutes up there, oof, that is not great. MJ, let's go ahead and get you on here for this one. MJ, are you going on the 200-foot tall swing ride? Are you there, MJ? MJ, are you there?
Earth to MJ, I am here, and I think my soul left my body while watching this B-roll. I'm definitely not intrigued at all and going on this at all. No, not happening. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's I don't want to be up there for 10 minutes.
Wild Man of Yavin says nope. And let's see, O2RR says play stupid games, win stupid prizes. All right.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Freedom Seeker says my kids went on that and I passed. Good for you, Freedom Seeker. Put the kids on it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. So Cuban Superman actually is saying, are you sure those aren't meta glasses? They could be. I thought the aspect ratio was a little bit different with meta glasses. I didn't think it was in this vertical format right here. I thought it was a phone. But to the V, I mean, it could be meta glasses. Which, by the way, meta glasses creates an interesting paradigm with some of these attractions that don't historically let you have recording devices of any kind on them. So very interesting stuff indeed. But good comment there, Erica.
Erica and Raf. We're gonna hold the that's a nope from me too.
There you go. That's indeed what I was thinking right there. Look, listen, man, I would have to be convinced to even ride this thing. So the fact that it stops up there at its highest point and just like sits you there, I don't know. That's an attraction not for me.
Try it once with heavy metal playing in the background. Yes, sir.
Yes,
we'll get you accommodated on there, good sir.
If you got Tom F's, awesome tunes playing in the background, okay, maybe we can. I could be convinced right there.
Yeah. No, this is insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Your Stanley Cup from that height down.
That's right. Yes, no Stanley Cups at that height. That's for sure. Dutchy says, "View looks good." It does. It does. Yeah, there's no question about that. But I don't know. Is it worth the view? I am not sure.
Juliet came in with the two. God help me with the US dollars, the British pound, the 2 British pound. Like, subscribe, and share. And that is a delicious cheeseburger. Hold the pickles.
Oh, yes. Cheeseburger. That would cure all ills at this point, right? That's good stuff right there. Fantastic. Let's see here. Tom F coming in here. I did release a new track on my channel last night called Broken Souls. I could change it to Stuck Souls. Oh, that's indeed. Yeah, you might have to. You might have to indeed. Yeah. Well, Meta Yavin, British pound sterling. Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, I don't think they use the sterling anymore. That's just cool to say though. But definitely check out Tom's channel. He's doing some amazing stuff over there with his music, which, by the way, he provides the music for this channel right here with its amazing intro. Awesome stuff right there for sure. MJ, I think that just about concludes our show, though. Were there any other comments that you wanted to go ahead and feature?
No, that was it. I think we got the last super chat. Thank you, Juliet, for your love and support of the channel. Thank you to all the Skyliners and Skywatchers. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us on this fine Wednesday.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff right there. I'll go ahead and just get that off. I'm sorry. I get a little,
we got one more comment here from Vixen Sky 007.
Please.
It's wonderful to see all the Vash Sky ParkCast members in the chat. Vash has a wonderful show in the works for Saturday. Secret. Shh, Vash and Vixen are going to Hawaii. Whoa.
Interesting. You're going to Hawaii for sure. That's going to be a fun show right there. You definitely want to tune in for that. I can't say much more, but if you understand your history of Disney when it comes to Polynesia and Polynesian culture and Polynesian things, then you got to know where we're going there. So absolutely fantastic stuff. That show is going to be on Saturday for the Sky Watchers, the members of this channel, on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Very, very cool. Love that. Also, too, show tomorrow, Thursday. I believe we're starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Because I'm looking at the stories, I'm going, okay, I think we're okay for this week. We might adjust that later on, folks. I'm still trying to see, how that show develops right there. But definitely, we'll have updated coverage for you and community notes, community posts, and so forth to let you know what is going on there if we do end up changing things. But tomorrow, 7 p.m., I believe is going to be a good start time for us Also, too, tonight I'm going to be on with Capture the Magic. I know it's grade 55. I think theme park philosophy, if I'm not mistaken, right there. We're going to be doing theme park hopping, I do believe is the name of the show. So definitely check us out later on for that. We'll be simul streaming it here as well. So if you're subscribed to this channel, you should be getting notified about that. It's going to be later on tonight. I don't know exactly when, because I think they occur around 6 p.m. our time, so it's like 9 p.m. Eastern or something like that, maybe 8 p.m. Eastern. I gotta figure that out because Jared, he puts those thumbnails up a little bit late, a little bit later than I would, and so sometimes I don't actually know when the actual start time is. But later on tonight, if you have notifications on, you'll be notified of when we go live. Okay. I think it's time that we are wrapping this show up. Hopefully, Ron, you're ready to accept these amazing people for your channel. Okay, you're right now prepping. I see. Do you need more time, Ron? Let me know if you need a little bit more time.
Vash does an excellent song and dance. If you need a little bit more time, we can entertain Skylanders and Sky Watchers.
Okay, you betcha. That's the plan. Okay. All right. So we need a little bit more time. Okay. MJ, let's go ahead and involve you in this one right here. What do you think about the story of Jeff Valle leaving Walt Disney World at this pivotal time in this resort's history right here? You would think that he would stick around, but he is leaving. What say you?
We're talking about the first segment. Is that correct? With
yes.
The gentleman. Yes. So, I mean, pretty much agreed with everyone. We've been discussing this pretty much all week, and it's a shame to see people. First, we had the announcement back in March where Bob Iger was retiring early as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was leaving a lot earlier than he was planned to leave. And now it just seems like everyone likes to be a kindergartner and make a mess and walk away from it. It's just like, no, you got to pick up your mess and then you can be dismissed if you need to be dismissed. It's not a good look, and it's not good for the resume. You're leaving disasters behind. The Rivers of America, don't even get me started on that.
Oh man,
that was awful. You nailed it with the whole monetization. They couldn't do anything with that. They couldn't make it it was just something for people to be able to enjoy during their park visit, and whether you got on the boat or not, you could sit down, have a refreshment, look at the water. The Magic Kingdom, you are correct. I did say it. It has no body of water now, and it's a shame. It's an absolute shame the way that they have left the park. It's in shambles. It must be nice to be just, able to get up and walk away from everything that, everything's up in shambles. There's walls. Construction's barely getting started. Things are just starting to go vertical.
Right.
It's awful. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what. I'm keeping an eye on things. I'm just curious as to what's next. So what now, right? I mean, we're giving people the bare minimum on everything, including the rock and roller coaster featuring the Muppets. I mean, the guitar was a letdown. Now the painting on the building is like bland. It has no. Not welcoming. It's not even intriguing.
We actually did get updated images. Let me see if I can actually put this on screen right now, because I didn't want to show everybody this. It obviously is not a story in the traditional sense, but an update on how it looks outside. And I was, MJ, it looked a little better actually than I thought initially. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring this up right here. Yes, here you go. Sorry about that, guys. I should have had this ready in advance, but you can see right here, what that looks like. Now, MJ, I don't know about you, but I think the gray actually, it's starting to grow on me a little bit.
Is it a super center Walmart? Oh, Lord have mercy.
That's not a super center Walmart. That's the Muppets facade, right? That's what I have.
I sent you a message the other day about the hat. Their they're testing the lights on the hat at Hollywood Studios. It's terrible. What is happening? What is happening here? What is going on? Everything is just like mediocre, and it
I
doesn't
don't
have to
know.
be. It doesn't have to be this way.
It does not have to be this
my
way. Oh, okay. All right. So the Muppets facade is a little bit disappointing. And yes, it looks like a Walmart to me.
The bright color matches. You're right.
It does, right? It's like the exact same color as the Muppets facade right now. Now, okay. Now, you were saying that the lights on the animation courtyard. Is that right? You're referring to those?
They were testing it. Yeah, they're doing
Yeah. I'll say this about the lights. That's a feature I didn't think they were going to implement. Like I wasn't expecting it. And so to see them actually implement this, I think it's actually pretty cool. Okay, this isn't the greatest video. Scott,
Well, yeah,
Kristen,
the
what are
fact
you
that
doing?
it's going to light up is phenomenal, but why couldn't they just make it a little bit bigger? I mean, if you position yourself properly and have a really good photographer with you, you could wear it from a distance, you know?
Yeah, it's true. That's
Okay.
true. Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
it's just mediocre. Look at how little it is. Oh my gosh, it's mediocre.
It's
I
a
mean,
little
you guys
undersized.
in the
Yeah.
comments, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like a speck from,
I-
where are you walking from Toy Story Land, and then you're going to see this little speck. Oh, the lights. Wonderful.
Yeah.
lights.
It's a good point. It is a little bit undersized. I think they wanted to make it proportional to this building, the same proportions that you would maybe have with the animation building on the Burbank lot, and its hat and so forth, right? The problem is like you said, MJ, it is a little small. So you might be able to see it from a couple of vantage points, but not many.
And it doesn't look anything like the hats that they sell in the gift shops. Like if you want to purchase the sorcerer hat, the sorcerer hat that you can actually wear is a lot cooler than that thing.
That's true.
Don't know what's happening here.
That's true. In terms of wanting to have something, I mean, look, is it kind of cool that they're modeling this off of the animation building in Burbank, California? Yes, I do think it's kind of cool. The only problem is that how many people are actually going to know that? And so when we are doing things that are homages to these things, sometimes they are modified in real life because, well, maybe not everybody gets the reference, and well, you just want it to look good in the specific venue that you're actually putting these things in. It's an interesting point, MJ. I hadn't thought about those, but yeah,
We got Freedom Seeker saying it's a Mickey Dunce cap.
Mickey Dunce cap. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like it. Freedom Seeker is awesome, by the way. He's been really, really great. Watching all of our coverage here.
Everybody in the
Phenomenal
audience
stuff.
is awesome.
Yes.
And we have a jingle that I got to do for O2RR before we get out of here because
Please.
this is
ahead.
excellent. He wants a group sip. I'm an avatar right now, so that's not happening, but I will do a sip later. And then he said, it says balls retirement. Nah, 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 nah. Hey, goodbye.
Yep, exactly. Don't let the door hit you on the way out right there.
Yeah,
it's
the good Lord split you.
I just cannot believe he's leaving now. After all this damage is done, after all these things are irreversible, that's when he bails. Whatever. It is.
Up in shambles.
Telling you, MJ, it gets me upset. But what doesn't get me upset, though, is Ron's amazing channel over there at Follow the Bradley's Fun. He is ready to roll, so let's go ahead and get on over there right now. Oh, we had the Wild Man of Yavin, actually, right before we were going to get out of here. MJ, bring it up.
Wild Man of Yavin for $5 out of obligation. Oh, Wild Man, it's never an obligation. Never an obligation.
Never an obligation, but Wildman, Yavin, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Yes.
That is awesome stuff right there. And thank you to all of you. We have hit 5,000 subscribers. A tremendous milestone. I'm telling you, people, they're starting to take notice. So that is because of all of you watching. Just really, really incredible. Thank you so much for all the support and for making this channel hit this tremendous milestone at this time. Awesome stuff right there. All right, Sargon, thank you so much. Farewell, Vash. Farewell, all of you. We will see you on the next show. It's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern right there. So definitely stay tuned to Vash Sky ParkCast. Also, too, Saturday, we're going Hawaiian with Vash and Vixen. That's for Sky Watchers. If you're a member, tune in. You don't want to miss it, folks. I'm telling you. MJ, I want to go ahead and thank you for producing today's show. You did an excellent job today. And to all of you, well, the sky is the limit.